And welcome to the Closing Staff Podcast, your one-stop shop for all news relating to the past, as it were. We're going to be with you here. I got me and a couple of my buddies. We're going to be walking you through some experiences, some highs, some lows of our time working for GameStop. I think collectively have got quite a few years between all of us. We bring some pretty good insight, some pretty good stories. I'm going to try to make everyone laugh, try to make everyone cry. Just try to cover it all tonight. So, I go by Cash Wrap, and my two buddies here.
Yeah, I'll be going by Distro. Here to bring you some exciting stories, hopefully. Some highs, some lows, as we say here. Taking a lot of bullets with these guys, so hopefully, with our third podcast, we can really get you on board. Let you know what we're about.
Yes, indeed.
And this is Trade Hold. I don't have as much time GameStop as these guys do, but I've had a lot of experience with the management and retail, and I'm pretty good, I would say, with analyticals. So I'll probably be able to give multiple perspectives also.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, we're using our aliases because we do want to keep it under the radar. You know how GameStop is.
Yeah.
Kind of let you know all the good stuff, all the bad stuff. It's not going to be a hate podcast, but more so a conversation of our experiences there, some constructive criticism, but also things you can expect. Things that we love, things that we didn't love. Kind of, if you're a consumer, if you're an employee, this really is for anybody.
I mean, it is GameStop after all. So, we'll try to keep it off of ranting because that already exists on Reddit.
There's plenty of that you can find online.
Yeah, plenty of GameStop hate Reddits.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we don't want to. We didn't come together here to
Rage.
Yeah. There's a lot of that to go around elsewhere. I think really the purpose of this, and I think Distro and Tradehold might agree, that it's really just about sharing experiences and recollecting some of the things that we saw and did during our time there. And, hopefully we get an audience that's interested in that, some ex-employees, some consumers. And yeah, I think between the three of us, and then we plan on, getting a few guests on the show too, to really bring some different perspectives on things. And I don't know, I think it might be a good time.
You're right, especially with not a lot of things like this, on the internet. A lot of people having these discussions, instead of, like I said, being on Reddit, having a lot of hate. This really gives us the opportunity to kind of give you our points of view. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I get some guests in here, get other points of view in there. Really, really just get away from that same conversation of why GameStop sucks, as opposed to being like, hey, these are why these things happened. Mm-hmm. Maybe we don't agree with them 100%.
Yeah.
But at least we can tell you what we did agree on, what we didn't agree on. Things that we did enjoy, things we didn't enjoy. Really get to a solid, good conversation.
Basically, insider perspectives that you might not be thinking about as a consumer, or possibly even giving some of the employees extra perspective from the consumer side, right? That you might not be thinking of while you're working.
Yeah, and we might not always agree every time.
Yeah.
You're right. Again, we are not defending GameStop in any way, shape, or form. We are not employed by GameStop at all.
We are former employees.
We're former employees, so this conversation can go anywhere.
Yeah. So we'll try to we try to keep it constructive, but you may hear more negative than positive because it is GameStop.
Yeah. I think GameStop, for some people, kind of drums up some of those feelings that aren't, always pleasant.
You're right.
But I don't know. I mean, speaking for myself, it is what it is, and it was an important part of my life and career, and it really had a positive impact on me in some ways, a lot of ways. So I don't know. I think we hope to kind of mind that side of the house too, and just talk about some good times that we had there.
You're right. No, especially the Green Pine too. There, a lot of us had a lot of time there. Oftentimes working in a retail situation, you're locked into your location. Mm-hmm. A lot of us took pride in our location too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we all met at our similar store. We all loved our store. We felt like we had the best regulars. You know, at the time too, you know, we were all really into the same games. You know, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to talk too a little bit today about like our roles in our positions in the company too, as far as when we first started.
Yeah. It so happens that the three of us, Distro, Tradehold, and Cash Wrap here, come from the same store. Actually, I think probably one of the best places to start for this thing that we're doing is kind of talking about us as individuals and where we started and where we were and, you know, maybe even where we wanted to be at some point. So, Tradehold, what's your story?
Well, I think it's interesting that we're starting off with me. Personally, I was not a huge fan of GameStop. I managed a game store prior to working at GameStop for 5 years, and then actually had a management position of total of 9 years by the time I was interviewed for GameStop. I was working at a different company, and they had let go of our entire shift, and it was close up to the holidays, and I needed a job. I knew these guys and a few others from the one particular store location, which was my favorite to frequent because the reason I hated GameStop or shopping at GameStop was because there were always employees they were very
Standoffish,
Opinionated.
No, I don't know about opinionated. What they were was that they were very stuck on policies and salesmen. You know, there wasn't really a casual, assertive. I guess is also another way.
Yeah.
Well, I think aggressive is probably a better way of saying it though.
Yeah.
And then some of them were just not informed, and they were very stubborn. That's what they were very stubborn because sometimes they got their information from the GameStop POS systems that would go out that sometimes would be misinformed, but they stuck to that because that's what they were told. And if you as a consumer had played a particular game and told them they were wrong, they were just like, no, you're wrong. I've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so the reason I liked this store was because no one was like that. If they said, if they didn't know a game, they just said they didn't know a game. They didn't try to push sales on me. After the initial ones, because once they remember me, they're like, oh, he doesn't want a GPG, so I'm not going to ask him for it. He's never asked for a pro, so, And so that's why I like this store. And when I lost my job, I was like, oh, I will apply here. Everyone has told me that I should work here. And I do like video games and all. So, yeah, I ended up, I was actually interviewed because the district manager had wanted a new assistant manager to work at the store, but from outside the company as opposed to promoting somebody else. And from my previous experience, I didn't want that. I did not want a manager position because I didn't want to have that kind of mentality where it gets to a point where I bring it home, where people are contacting me at home about what's something, whatever's going on at the store.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot of that.
Of that. So I was interviewed for assistant, but I had told the manager I didn't want assistant. And so what happened was the district manager had put me, and which I was hired on as SGA, third tier management, because as a GA you can't get full-time hours. So
Right.
SGA, senior game advisor back then was what it was called. And another person that was SGA position who had worked at GameStop for 5 years that wanted to be assistant manager put both of us on 90-day probation to see whether one of us whether he can be promoted or whether I might change my mind, which I didn't. I stuck as SGA.
Right.
But that's my story going into GameStop. Maybe that might.
Listen, how long were you there for, too?
I was there for a year. I was there for a year.
It was like one solid year, right?
One solid year, yeah. So I guess that's a good start for someone who might not like GameStop.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get in the door somehow.
Yeah.
So that's true. Yeah, and Tradehold does happen to be the one with the least amount of experience on the job here, but does bring a wealth of knowledge that I've always enjoyed listening to. And I think everyone would agree as we start to hear some more from Tradehold. Distro, you've spent more time than that.
Yeah, no,
on
right.
the job.
I was with the company for quite a bit, a long time too.
Yeah.
You see, I'm enjoying hearing from Tradehold too, because you have like some outside gaming store, you know, like info too.
I have
as well.
some different comparisons to
Yeah.
how the stores run as opposed to GameStop, how they do it, which is very unique in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the procedures or the lack of when it comes to how hectic the stores can be.
Yeah.
It's really weird too, seeing kind of like when I started with the company, because I started with the company. It was about 6 years ago. You know, I was with the company for about 6 years. Started seasonal. Worked my way through the holiday season. Went through to guest advisor, where I spent a good amount of time. Whereas like what they call the game advisor, I'm used to call it guest advisor because they switched it up on us.
They switched the name.
They switched it up on us, yeah. But originally we were the game advisors, and then for the longest time I was there. But one of our old managers switched stores, brought me with him, promoted me to what was the senior, game advisor at that point, key holder. Spent a lot of good time as the key holder, running the ship.
Yeah, holding the keys.
Yeah, holding the keys, And then essentially, got my opportunity to go to another store. I became assistant manager. And then from assistant manager at some point, I'm actually running my own store, running a high volume store, 2 million.
That was
it was really fun, to be honest. With a lot of the stress, there was a kind of achievement unlocked, kind of feeling when you're sitting there with your own keys, your own store.
Top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was definitely pretty cool. It's definitely weird to think about, too, when I started with the company. Not so much when Tradehold started with the company. It was, when Tradehold started, they said they wanted to hire from outside the company a lot. When I first started, you really needed to know somebody.
Right.
It was kind of, it was an almost exclusive retail group,
Yeah.
Like, I forget how we called it. It was a special retail almost, or I forget the wording for it specifically, but, to get your foot in the door with that company, it was really hard. Because I would apply beforehand. I would never really get in, but, I had to know somebody in the store, and thank God I knew, I was a regular, too, going to the store that we started at. It was kind of like you'd go and you feel welcome. You can actually talk up the games you were playing. You could actually feel comfortable talking about the games you were playing. You didn't feel like you were getting just, berated with all these random questions or just, hey, why aren't you pre-ordering this random game?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, why aren't you throwing the protection on,
Yeah.
It kind of like when I'd go in there, I felt comfortable talking. It's like, hey, these are my friends,
Yeah.
I can come in, it feels comfortable. When we're talking about a new release, like, I want to pre-order with them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to mention it as much, they'll remind me. But it's not so much as, like you said, a selling technique.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just trying to sell it onto you.
Yeah.
It's more so like, hey, I know he likes this game, We'll talk about it a little more. It's like, oh, crap, that is coming out. Like, let me throw 5 on it real quick before it gets too late.
Right. Someone
just
had spent time to get on that level and build that rapport with you, where your purchases were coming from within. They were your own ideas. It's almost like the concept of Inception, like the movie. Someone went into your mind and planted the thought that you wanted to reserve $5 on this game.
Yeah, right.
But didn't do it by forcing you to do it. Just got in your mind and said, let's start talking about this new game that comes out in a year. Mm-hmm. And if you like it, let's keep talking about it as it approaches. And then 6 months out, hey, we've been talking about it. Guess what? We're taking orders on it now.
Yeah, right.
The idea's already been planted, so...
It's already, and it's a little more natural that way, too, as well.
Yeah.
And that's why working everywhere else, because I've been working since I was, like, pretty much 13, every summer. I never really had, like, a summer to myself. Tons of work experience here. It's really shitty places, doing lots of various things, like, my list goes down.
Yeah.
But then once getting to GameStop was kind of that idea is, like, I want to get in somewhere where I can talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Really get to sell things to people that I actually enjoy, that I know I can talk about.
Yeah.
But with a crew, and a staff that I felt really comfortable with, too, as well.
Yeah.
Because it sucks working somewhere where it's like everyone has their own cliques. You don't really feel like welcome in, You don't really know what to talk about.
Yeah.
It kind of makes it feel unnatural. You don't really feel like you can do your work the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's why I was really grateful with GameStop. At least I was there long enough to where I can move my way up the ladder. I saw pretty much everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you guys right now, everything that could go wrong did go wrong with me. I was put in a lot of really bad situations. But I can tell you I came out better for it.
Mm-hmm. You learned from it, right?
Yeah, learned from it.
There were learning experiences, and that's probably the best kind of work experience you can get is, failure and how you get through that.
I would have to say that because of how hectic it is and because of how often procedures would change, one of the best things about working at GameStop is the fact that you become if you stick with it, you become very solution oriented because you witness all kinds of problems, so many problems and situations that you probably would be much more on track with at other positions.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, exactly. Especially too, like they teach you a lot of things that a lot of people learn in school. Yeah. You know, like things that people are trained and taught, they pay money for, you know, but we're over here just getting thrown in the trenches. You know, the fires, you know, the bullets are flying. What are you going to do? Either you cower or you figure it out.
And I really liked that there wasn't like a menial type of position. Like it wasn't like a department store where you have a cashier whose job all day for 8 hours a day is just to swipe things by a scanner all day. And you maybe get to say hi and goodbye every now and then, but your job is just scanning things. The stores, at least from what I remember, did not want people who did that and only that. They wanted people who did that, but as an aside to the other parts of the job, which was, you know, general housekeeping and cleaning, even things like that. But then, of course, there's the sales aspect, so you have to have people who can talk and who know how to build, you know, relationships really quickly and have them, you know, result in sales. So that's one of the things I appreciated about it, not only in what it helped me implement in my own career, but in just working alongside those people. I mean, I was working alongside you guys and other people who were just, you know, jack of all trades kind of guys. So guys and girls.
Being in a position like that really does bring out, you know, like I say, the best in people, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because it automatically brings to mind the one seasonal employee that was hired that actually only had one job because he was so focused on asking how he could move on that he didn't learn anything else.
Yeah.
So he only had one thing to do though every time he was scheduled.
Yeah.
So we'll go into that another time though.
Yeah, I think we all have those. For anyone listening who's worked at a store, I hope you're not one of these, but
right.
I think we've all had experiences with that one or two employees every season who, as much as you try to get them to do the full cycle and the full workload, they really only proved worth in one area. So you put them at the front of the door handing flyers out for 8 hours.
It's like playing an RPG, right? And you're supposed to be my healer, but you can't even heal me. Yeah. You know, you're my pack mule now.
You're just
carrying all my items.
You're just gonna hold my inventory now.
You know? Mercy can do more than that, right?
You know?
Yeah,
but but I was pretty much there for 6 years. Left on some questionable terms, you know, but definitely have a lot of GameStop knowledge. But, you know, sitting right next to me, though, Cash Rep's the one, you know, part of the team that hired me.
Yeah.
You know, part of my old original management team
part
right
of the
there.
Original team when you came in. And back in those days, I was more involved in the hiring process. I think when Tradehold came around, I had exited. Yeah, I had started to transition out by that time. But, yeah, I started many years ago, so it's probably been maybe about 8-9 years or so when I first started. And I actually didn't start. I started in the season, but I was brought on as a full-time from the get-go. And I came in as an LGA, which was an old school position. Right. Doesn't exist anymore.
That's when you know he's old.
Yeah, when I had the LGA position.
Yeah, Legacy GameStop.
Legacy GameStop advisor. No, it's lead game advisor. And then pretty quickly moved my way up to SGA, the senior game advisor, and then took on assistant manager, which is where I spent most of my time there. Probably a good maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years or so, as an actually maybe 4 years or so as an assistant manager. And then had a temporary manager role for a few months or so until we closed the management gap at the top. And so it was interesting because I had, from the beginning, never held a GA spot. I had always had something higher than that, a key holder from the beginning. And it was only in my last year at GameStop did I get a GA spot.
You got to see it from the trenches.
Got to see what that was like, which was fun. That was fun.
It was not the same for you though, as
I was definitely shielded from a lot of the. I think I had built up enough I had built up my veteran status.
Yeah, you
by
had like
then.
diplomatic immunity almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think I had a little bit of diplomatic immunity.
I mean, people tried. People
They
tried,
did.
but
They-
there was that guilt trip because I was like, oh man, you've been here.
That's true. I think I was asked to do a few of those, shifts that no one wanted to do, but all I had to do was, say no, and
Mhm.
I didn't have to do it, which I think was a luxury for being a GA, because GAs are not allowed to say no ever.
You're right. No, that's the truth.
So,
I would have to interject that when I was there, a lot of GAs, especially because I was hired during the season, also,
Yeah.
and a lot of GAs did not pick up shifts. They were just like, "Oh, I can't work that day," and I would be the one who would fill in the shifts. That's what I became known for. It's just like, "Hey, trade hold, can you come in for this shift because so can't make it?" And just like,
See, that was I remember like either when Cash Rap would call me or our other like main manager would call me. Yeah, it was either you're coming in because we as like game advisors back then, like I'd get maybe 3-4 hours every week or two.
right,
Yeah.
You know?
right.
So that's why it's just like, hey, we have an extra shift for you. It's like, oh crap, you have an extra shift for me. Like it's either I take it or I don't take it.
It was, if you don't take it, I can probably find someone who will.
Yeah.
Compared to like as like time goes by, like
Mhm.
they were really opening the door more. It was like.
Yeah.
We were so low staffed at some point too. It was
Oh,
just
man.
like people would be like, "No, I don't want to go in for that crappy shift." You know?
Oh yeah, and that was those days of bumping elbows and getting in the trenches so we could earn hours for the next week.
Mhm.
That was always fun. But yeah, I mean, quite a few years there. Got to see kind of how things were before a lot of the new initiatives that came around. Kind of got to have the full experience of seeing the company in transition, because I think that was probably the meat of my time was the company transitioning into this whole different verticals and trying to sell in different spaces. Luckily I got in at the tail end of it just being about games. Obviously there was selling of those games and the unsavory practices that some might call unsavory practices.
Yeah, but I'm glad too. Yeah, like even me, I got in like at the butt end of like it just being just GameStop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Jimmy, you sold games, accessories for games, and video game consoles, and that was it.
Yeah.
And maybe protections for those items.
And
but
yeah,
that was
the
as far
warranties
as we
for
branched
those.
out.
Yeah.
I actually think I got in. The 1 year I was in was actually a pretty good time because that was the 1 year they changed their policy to go, oh hey, just sell to customers what you think they need,
Yeah.
before they swapped it back like less than a year later.
Yeah.
When they tried to introduce solution selling. Yeah,
Solutions.
because that was cool about our store originally.
Yeah.
It was like that. Like all those things were instilled already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those things were already in place without us really having to put them in place.
We had a good store in that when it came time for the company to roll out company-wide initiatives on solution selling and building relationships with your customers. I think that our store kind of got a head start on a lot of that stuff where it didn't really require a lot of training for us. It was like, this is what we're already doing. We already got a solid base of customers who we're friends with, who we're not friends with, but they might feel like we're friends with them enough to, trust us and our insight. So a lot of it was, a pretty easy transition for us.
You're right.
I also want to say, as someone who came from a different game store, where GameStop was known for like pushing sales and all that.
Right.
When that transition happened and they were showing it on the TVs, the training videos that would happen before and after the store opens and closes, you would see then you're like, GameStop just figured this out.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, that was a thing, was like GameStop was so on pushing sales that just now, this 1 year, I think this was year was this? This must have been somewhere around.
Was it 2015? Or was it like 2014?
I want to say.
you know,
I want to say it was like
2015?
2014.
2014.
Yeah, I was like 2014 was like, wow. After all this time, they just figured out that maybe they should just be pushing what they think the customer needs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely agreed though when I was working. I'm like, yeah, well, this store is already good at that because we never try to push anything.
Yeah.
Like nothing too hard. We didn't try to pressure customers or anything like that. So.
You're right. Because it was how I was trained. It's like, I always ask an open-ended question.
Yeah.
Never be pushy, That's why I
Right.
always ask people, like, what are you playing right now?
Right.
You know, to be like, hey, how's it going? Like, you know, welcome in. If I can, most of the time too, we're really good at picking up when people didn't really want to talk to us. Because being at the location where we did got a lot of foot traffic.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
A lot of foot traffic.
So that's why it was nice when you actually got that one person who's like, hey, what are you playing right now? They can't just be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then if they're like, no, it's like, no what?
Yeah.
You know? Like, okay, you don't want to talk to me, I'll move on. Like, that's fine. But like, but it's like, I'm the gamer. Like, I love games. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm here to talk about games.
I'm here to, talk about games.
I'm not selling you anything. Don't worry. I'm just trying to find out what you're on so that I can know, like, you know, what we can talk about.
Yeah.
You know? But if you don't want to talk, that's perfectly fine, too, you know? Like, I can let you go. But it's nice when you have that one person that comes in, it's like, oh, I'm more of a retro gamer, or I'm mainly into, like, Call of Duty, when Call of Duty was still really big, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, all these other things, too, you know? Like, you really get to find out, like, all these different cool, like, niche communities in the gaming community, you know? And it really helped us, like, really grow as a store, too, you know?
That's another good thing about working at GameStop is that it's very good at if you're someone who's more introverted, it's really good at showing you how to like be an icebreaker. You know, breaking the ice with the customers because you have that one thing in common. You like video games, and so you would be able to talk to someone just by bringing up some kind of video game or seeing what kind of video game they're looking at.
You can always fall back on that.
Oh yeah,
as a point, you know, to start a conversation.
Right.
And that's something you can carry on after GameStop. It's like, you know, oh, how did I talk to people when I was here? Well, I talked about video games. So if I went somewhere else, it's like, well, what's my common ground?
Yeah,
it's funny too. You see it on the TV for training and stuff. It's like before they would drill it into like these people that can't really communicate. You know, it's like no, you need to have these pro cards. You need to have these things. You need to take those things. Yeah. As opposed to when we'd come into our store, we'd be like, "What's the goal today?" Oh yeah, like let's knock it out.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
Like you had that mentality. It's like we know we can do it because it's just natural for us. You know. But then, like we're always talking to putting people in the right positions to succeed, you know? Like, we did definitely have a lot of good people that were, like, let's say, good with ops. You know, not so much, like, good with, like, at the register.
Definitely.
We did have people that were, like, good at the reg, but, like, not so good ops, you know? And it was, like, it was a good balance there. Because you can at least, like, place people where they feel comfortable. As opposed to drilling it into them. So I feel like GameStop for a while there, it was just, like, everybody needs to have, like, solid numbers. For the store to succeid and to get more hours.
Right. Yeah. The thing about GameStop, is they're very script-oriented. Very script oriented, and to the point where I'm sure a lot of people, any customers, even employees would know that when you call, you get this long script, and you say, I don't want to hear this. Well, guess what? They have to say it.
Right. Right. It's painful. Yeah. Like I always tell my staff too when I first started hiring people, I'd say make sure that like 'cause I always hate don't be a robotic salesman. You know.
Yeah.
It's like I always hate when I'm in line and then someone comes up to like I have two people in front of me and one person goes up and they get like the spiel. You know. And it's like, oh, they're having a good connection with that person, but then the next guy that comes up gets the exact same wording, the exact same thing, you know, and it's kind of just like, oh, it's cookie cutter. It's like, now when I go up, I can just tell, like, this guy isn't really, you know, like, it's just all scripted, which is fine. He's doing his job, you know, but at the same time, I don't feel connected. I don't trust this guy. I don't feel like, I don't feel like, you know, comfortable
There's
here
no
as much,
authenticity.
You know? No authenticity, as opposed to you come up, it's like, you have one really good interaction with someone sees that, like, oh, cool, and you come up and you make that unique to the person. And they see it and they're like, oh, crap, this guy's actually cares about what I'm talking about. It's not so much like, oh, I say this so you can say that, then I say this, and then I bring it up with the reservation. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I have like my punchline, which is like, do you want to reserve this now? It's like, no, it's like we're each having like our own individual experiences with these people, you know? Right. Because it's easy to kind of like, just get stuck in script mode. And that's what GameStop wants. They want people that are very to the book, very script, you know?
I mean, speaking from an outside perspective on that too, if you're not familiar, what really brought that on was McDonald's and franchising, because what people want is predictability, and that's why they have these scripts. Another thing is just breaking in like new employees.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but to make it comfortable for them to say these things. But if you're a customer and you're wondering, oh, who's actually monitoring that you're saying these things? Well, guess what? We would get random calls from the higher ups to see whether these scripts are actually being followed. So we did have to say them.
Yeah, I remember
as much as we didn't want
to. That's something you're never gonna be able to escape. Yeah. If you're working there, I'm sure. Whoever's listening who's working there probably knows.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, they will undercover call your store.
Oh yeah.
They did it to my store plenty of times, especially when I was a manager and we'd hear it on the conference call and stuff. And they would throw like, they'd feel like, no, I'm going to call your guys' stores when you guys purposely aren't there so we can see if your staff's on point.
Yeah.
Right,
You know?
right.
And then like you have to go down and tell your staff Big Brother's watching, which throws the whole like everything off because now everyone answers the phone hella timid.
Yeah.
You know? Kind of like, oh damn, is this my district manager, you know?
Yeah. And yeah.
Keeps everyone honest, though.
I-
Keeps everyone in line and consistent, which is where
That's
that,
true.
Yeah.
you know.
I will have to say also that I got lucky with the 1 year I worked because they changed that to where it was like, well, bring up promotions that you're more comfortable talking about, or that you're, that you think you're better
Yeah.
at talking about. And so we didn't always have to follow something. It was just more of a make sure you mention some kind of promo or a game coming out or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But then they changed that again immediately.
Yeah, that didn't
Yeah,
work. But yeah, I think the three of us can agree that the store we worked at was particularly
Yeah,
a
nice.
good time, huh?
Yeah, I say especially with our regulars too. You know,
Yeah.
like I feel like we each brought something to the table as far as like our different gaming backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we each had something that someone could bring up and like talk about. And if we weren't so much like versed in that, like we were very good, very well rounded. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, a little bit about that store. So when I started, I trained at a different store, but I was intended to help open the one that we spent our time at, that we eventually all worked at.
Yeah, our baby.
Yeah,
like
so-
yes, this is the mothership.
Our hub.
Yeah,
So-
our hub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our hub, our main base. So I had been in there from the very first day of opening, and helped kind of set it up a little bit. Although
I
they
forget
had
you guys opened that store.
we opened that
Yeah.
store. The manager and I opened that store. I think I was an LGA at that time. I must have been an LGA going into that store, and so we had an assistant manager, we had a senior game advisor, and we had a crew of GAs. And then the manager who opened it had been a veteran. I think that might have been his maybe fifth year working for GameStop by that time. So
Yeah, and it was a trip because by the time he left with me, he was getting close to 10 or something.
yeah, he was a long time player in GameStop, and actually someone who would be kind of cool to have on the show one day.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I know he's still in the area.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he wouldn't be opposed to
Yep,
sharing
I don't think
some.
he would, no.
Yeah, all right. It was fun to see. He's the one that
Cool guy.
he's the one that got my career moving towards GameStop and like management. He's the one that really got me the opportunity.
Yeah,
to
he
promote.
was. He's the one
Yeah,
who put you in the right
he pulled
places.
me over. Yeah.
Yeah. And same thing for me. He really had a big impact on
Mhm.
my career there too. But yeah, so him and I opened that store, and I think like working directly alongside him for so long, I really started to see that he wanted to instill some of the things that we talked about earlier in that store from day one. He had taken over previous stores in the past and kind of come into things in progress, but this was the first time where he can make an impact in the community and the shoppers and the clientele that shop there from the very beginning. And so I think a lot of what we talked about earlier is due to that kind of early vision of him wanting to do things a little differently there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a mall store. It was a strip mall store.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take very long for that store to become one of the most busiest stores
Oh yeah.
in the district.
I think that's still a $2 million store or plus.
Still is, yeah. It still is.
It has
heavy
it was a mall strip store, but it had the foot traffic of that pretty much a mall
of a
store.
mall.
Yeah, 'cause you had a lot of food in that area. You had like the bank was right there, but then you still had like right down the way was like Toys R Us, rest in peace. You know,
Yeah.
Target. Like all these different shops where people would
Best
kind of just
Buy.
roam around. Best Buy.
Actually, that's a good point. The anchor stores
Mhm.
in that shopping center were probably some of the best anchor stores you can have
Mhm.
as a small, company moving in. Yeah,
You're right.
we had Home Depot. We had all the major players were
You're right.
there, and then of course we had our big competition across the parking lot from us. We had a big Best Buy in the corner.
Oh no, yeah, I
That
remember
was a lot of fun dealing with people who had just come from Best Buy or leaving us and going to Best Buy.
See, that made me feel good about our original store too. Is we get people from like Target and then from like Best Buy coming and pre-ordering with us because they liked us.
They did,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of people come in and tell us that too. They liked the extra touch that the store and its employees had, given them as they were doing their shopping.
Yeah, because I forget we all did battle in that plaza.
We did.
Like as far as retail goes, because I can tell you they didn't live up to our launches at all. They can sell as much as they want, but our launches were what put us over forward too.
And the sort of as an aside here, the format of the shows that we're going to run, we kind of want to tackle a different topic each show. And I think Midnight Launches is probably a whole show.
Oh, yeah.
We could dedicate in a whole show, maybe even more than
launch experiences, good experiences, bad experiences. Yeah, that can definitely be a show.
Just some stories that we have from those times. So we'll probably get into, specifics on launches and that culture in a different show. But, the store that we all hail from was one that... let's just say the company did their homework in that area and they knew exactly what they were doing when they opened a store there. Because, again, it wasn't that long that store was hitting some pretty major numbers.
Well, especially in the location, too. Especially in that area. There was no GameStop really, south of that.
Right.
For a long time. For a while,
yeah.
And the one that was really small, and I can tell you from being, the consumer, being, the customer, I did not like going to that store.
Yeah.
Just for those same things, just very, very, no help. No real care for the customer. I felt uncomfortable walking in there. I was kind of like, "What are you buying now?"
Yeah, right.
And it's kind of like, let me slide your shitty game across the counter, and then go home and play your shitty game because my game is better than yours. And it's kind of just you get that right off the bat without them really having to say anything.
Yeah.
See, that's my experience with almost all GameStops prior to our GameStop. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you described. That's me at every other location. Which is
yeah, right? It's just why am I here?
It was I stopped by GameStop as a last resort. I'm just can I get this game anywhere else? Oh,
damn it. No, you cannot.
Right? No, the physical release is GameStop exclusive.
Yeah.
And that's what you said earlier is a good point. I think we kind of opened our location wise, we were right in the middle of a bunch of other GameStops that were older. The one to the south was one of the older stores in the district, and even further south is where you hit our big mall stores. When you go up to the north, you didn't really have anything for another probably equal amount of distance.
Yeah, right.
And then to the east and west, same thing. So.
Yeah, especially if you drive up the street, the main street where we were at, you get into a really kind of richish neighborhood.
Right.
And then we were the only ones that could really take care of them.
Right.
And then going in the opposite direction, it was a lot of kind of not as well, of a neighborhood, but we still took care of them too.
We were almost exactly on the line between two different kinds of communities.
Two different spectrums.
And it was cool for me because we got to help all kinds of different people. I mean, we got to see very affluent families come in, and we even had some celebrities come in who lived in those neighborhoods, which was kind of cool. I'm sure we'll dedicate an episode to celebrity sightings.
Yes, right.
I witnessed a lot of family gamers that were just it was very exciting to see a whole family of gamers. You see someone who's 40s, the parents 40s, and they're they're in for Legend of Zelda, but they're kids who are 10, they're there for Pokemon. I'm talking about a family of 7 people going in there and just they're all looking for games.
Yeah,
they all love
they all they go in the door and then they all spread out to their areas, and then they meet at the cashier's table when it's time. But we helped out a lot of those people, and then on the other side of the street we got those other kinds of customers who would come in, and so that was interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool too. Because even me coming from the gaming side, where I don't have a lot of money to spend on games,
right?
Very strapped. Usually, it's I gotta go in with something in mind already,
right?
And I'm going in. I may have a little wiggle room, but that's either my gas or my food,
Right.
So going into those stores, always whenever I worked at the that store, I was very conscious of just hey, this next. This next purchase might be their only this is holding them off until next paycheck.
Yeah, right. Yes, right.
So that's why it's hard for me. You get an opportunity to talk to people and learn how to talk to people. So it's just you can offer these things.
Yeah.
But you can really find out like kind of like what situation they're in.
Yeah.
You know, because before, like, what sucks now being like going into GameStop, being like, hey, I'm here, you know, just for like my basic game, but they're trying to plug me in with all this stuff, you know.
Right.
When it's like they don't really know, is like, can I afford it? You know, like you guys
Yeah.
haven't really tried to like open it up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and especially working at our old store, like I really got an appreciation for those people that are like, hey, this is my game that I'm playing for the rest of the month. And you have those people, like I said, come in and it's like, oh, $15 renewal, that's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that
Keep
quick,
trading
you know.
in.
I'll tell you one of the things I really disliked about having to push things is like sales is when you see a kid in there. I'm talking about like a little kid, and he has like $5 because he wants to pre-order something, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to push anything else on. He probably only has $5, you know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
and
like he's been saving that for a long time,
you
too,
know?
you know, yeah.
And I'm sure you might have kids who like you said from affluent families that might actually have that extra money, but usually you can tell. Where it's like, okay, no, they only just have the one. I'm not gonna be like,
yeah,
you should get this and you should get that,
Yeah.
because kids are easily excitable. So like, oh, maybe I should get this, and I'm going
very much.
I'm gonna go find my parents right now and get more money from them. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it definitely does make you feel bad, especially being on the management side at some point. Like sitting there, it's like I'm supposed to be selling you stuff because they, you know, unit
That's
per
what they tell me,
transactions,
yeah.
UPT, like, you know, attach rate, all this stupid stuff, you know. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's like I'm here to be honest with this kid. I'm here to sell him something that I know he's gonna love, you know,
Yeah.
and not hammer too much down and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Because I hate having to feel like the jerky salesman because, like, you know, we're trying to reach numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they put you in those situations all the time where it's like, you know, why haven't you hit this metric? It's like, because I helped out 5 kids, I got them like the game they're probably going to play for the rest of their lives. You know, like,
yeah.
you know, we actually hooked them up. They're going to want to come back to our store because, you know, we had a great experience with us.
Right.
As opposed to just going into a Target or something, you know, like,
Mhm.
and they're actually going to like give us that business coming back, you know? But then they're going to ask, like, why didn't you attach that to that?
Mhm.
You know, did you even mention it? It's just like, at some point, you don't even have to mention it because, you know, these kids, like you said, you know, that's probably all the money he has.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have him drag his mom in here, you know, like, you know, because, like, she wants to hear, like, he wants her to hear about what I have to sell, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you should have to be an honest salesman without having them, like, looming over
Mhm.
your shoulder, like,
That's true.
you know,
Yeah.
why are you not pushing these things?
yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't say we've been off on a tangent, but I would say that it's been kind of flowing pretty well. But you guys had initially asked me what I was looking for when I went into GameStop, but I don't think you guys have, either one of you have actually went into that. Like, what were you looking for when you were hired, at, or when you were trying to get hired at GameStop? But before we talk about distro and cash wrap, I just wanted to mention I was really looking forward to running tournaments because at the previous games that I worked at, I ran it a lot. Even at games that I wasn't very experienced in, namely first-person shooters. But my other manager the other manager there, who played a lot of that, for some reason never ran the tournaments herself, so I had to learn how to do that too.
Mm.
But when I got hired on, our district had said that they weren't going to give us the extra budget to run tournaments, so I was pretty bummed about that. But I was really looking forward to that because, like, the midnight launches I've seen from our store before I worked there were always fun. Were always really cool. And I remember Cash Wrap had seen me there multiple times for midnight, and I was just like, I'd be into whatever contest you guys would.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think we've had Tradehold donate a few of his artwork pieces to some of our prizes, which have been pretty cool.
Yeah, right?
That's always been a
They're
fan
actually really
favorite.
cool, yeah.
Yeah. I remember some customers who would just comment like, "He's the overachiever."
Yeah.
I'll get into it. I was just like, "Oh man, an hour. Let me just do something real like
You're right. Let me
crazy."
get down real quick.
Yeah.
Commissioned him for some art pieces.
But yeah. Let's get back into what
That's
we were
it.
talking.
But going into it too, what I expected, dabbled in a little bit. I wanted to get into a position where I could talk to people. Being in a customer service position where I was going to get out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to working by myself. Used to being like my own soldier, worker bee. It was nice being able to put myself in a situation where I wasn't just stuck in like a spot by myself.
Yeah, right.
Like I'd actually have to be a part of a team. Where I had to communicate,
Right.
really listen to people, find their needs. But like I said, I was comfortable on the team. Because I already knew everybody that worked there.
Right.
Because I shopped there all the time.
Yeah.
So it was one of the things too. Is like when I finally got my foot in the door, it was kind of like I wanted to show what I could do.
That's
So
cool.
did I really get that out of the after the whole time? I'd say yeah. Moving my way up all the way to the top. I'd say I've met some of the best people. Working at GameStop, even my staff.
You've probably had one of the most complete lifespans at at GameStop
Yeah, right.
that I've seen. You've held every position, and you've kind of seen it from all angles, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think will provide some really good insight to this thing we're trying to do.
You're right. No, I'm hoping. Yeah, especially 6 years in the trenches. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely see some stuff.
6 years in the trenches, you definitely see some stuff.
Yeah, right.
You heard it here first.
What I wanted from GameStop is I wanted some quality XP. You know, and I feel like I did get some quality XP.
Did you level up though?
I feel like I did level up. You know, a lot of perk tree workage. You know,
Nice.
would I like to respec? Yes.
I
Yeah.
think
you
almost
pristine?
anyone would
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
respect.
If I could respec, I'd respec. But I'd say I'm happy with my build at the moment. You know, yeah.
That's good. That's good. I think
What
that's
about you,
ultimate
Cash
goal.
Wrap?
I think a lot of my feelings and sentiments when I started really mirror what we heard from Distro, which is I was looking for an opportunity to put myself in an uncomfortable position to learn more about what I'm capable of and really kind of work on pieces of my personality and pieces of my work ethic that I didn't really get to work out that much in previous jobs. And really, I GameStop was my second job, I believe. My first being Game Crazy, so it wasn't my first rodeo in gaming retail, but I don't know. I think the ending that occurred at Game Crazy was not ideal for me, and I was not ready to see that store go. And I had wanted to, kind of keep things going, and so I jumped on board. I knew that I, was probably a little more valuable than just a standard seasonal. So I decided to prove that up front, and luckily, it worked out. And I mean, in the beginning, it was a totally a career / life, improvement play kind of thing. But staying there for maybe 2-3 years into it, when I was up in assistant manager and kind of seeing how management worked and got my first exposure to people management and hiring and all that, I don't know. I think it turned into a much more serious thing that I wanted to really see through. And then really it was just a matter of circumstance and opportunity when I exited. It was just, bigger and better things come along and you make a decision. So, but yeah, totally grateful for the time I spent there. And I think that I, like Distro, got what I was looking for by the end of it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Listen to you both talk. It hadn't really hit me yet, but I think I'm the oldest one here, aren't I?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
You look old, so.
Thanks. That's not what you're supposed to say to an Asian man.
So we got Oogway with us.
I know, it's true.
Well,
Sensei over here.
Yeah, Sensei,
Well, speaking
we'll
of
call you Sensei Tradehold from now.
Sensei Tradehold.
You gotta have that long beard,
He's been on, let's just say he's been in the Tradehold basket for quite some time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know that Distro had mentioned that you had kind of like a sort of ambiguous exit, or a little iffy. But how about yours, Cash Wrap?
Again, I think it was just a matter of circumstance. I think it was, really, probably one of the main things is, I was in contention and in the running for the permanent manager position, and I probably didn't do my due diligence and my best to display that is what I wanted, probably because I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted that, because working with the manager who had started that store with me and seeing how long he had been in it, and just kind of confiding and getting some advice from him, and as well as some other managers who have been doing it for a while, I think, and it's funny because I never imagined myself as someone who's afraid of commitment, but the commitment required for a manager position was very explicit, I guess. Distro, you might have some insight into this too.
Of course.
It was a long-term play.
A lot of long nights, yeah.
If you took that position, and from what I had heard, it was...
It was demanding.
It was, I mean, like, the nature of the job was definitely demanding. But I mean, with as much as that I was tasked with as an assistant manager, it was really just a matter of a few more hours a week, and now you get to do schedules. You know, it was like super simple. I was doing a lot of the work anyways. But what had been communicated to me was, once you're in, it's challenging to get out. You're gonna get stuck here. you're gonna like the money, you're gonna like the work until you don't, or until something better comes along, and then unless you're fired, good luck handing your resignation in, because it's going to be really difficult at that point. You're gonna have attachments. You're gonna have external factors that would make you believe that you can't leave, and so. That's probably what I had in the back of my mind, is I wasn't ready to commit, because I felt like I was on the brink of leaving anyways, and you know, my time had kind of run out then. So, but I think because I didn't communicate that I wanted it that bad, I didn't get it. And it was a weird feeling, because it was like I should have been picked for it because I was qualified, but at the same time I'm glad I didn't get picked for it because I wasn't ready for it anyways.
Yeah, I could tell you our whole store was vying for you.
Yeah, it
like,
was. Yeah.
We were all wearing Team Cash App shirts, you know. Like, I remember any chance we'd get, we'd be like, "Oh no, he's, you know, he holds it down." Like, we have 2 leaders, you know. Like, it was never like, we never looked at you guys as like one of you was like one top. It was always kind of like either you were in or he was in,
which was so
cool. And it was like you knew you just got it done, you know.
Yeah, and it was so cool running a store that way, because it was like 2 partners working together rather than just like a strict hierarchy of management, you know.
So that's what it was almost like. It almost kind of sent like, when someone leaves, why not just like, you know, just passing the keys over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of business politics when it comes to GameStop hierarchy.
A lot of politics. That's actually a great word for it. A lot of internal
Politics.
politics that I don't think I was ready to navigate. I don't think I had learned enough from the senior manager in the store to put myself in that position.
From the alpha manager.
From the alpha. From the alpha manager.
No, it's true. There's definitely a lot of situations that you do get placed in the manager position that, you know, often makes you feel like you have to take it on yourself.
Right.
And it makes it hard for you to really train, you know, the next person or communicate that without really, you know, like see, your job as a manager is you never want to make your job seem shitty to the person below you.
Oh, yeah.
Because you always want them to look forward to moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you want them to know that when they work towards something, they're going to get it and it's going to be better. You know, they want to look over at their manager and just being like, fuck, like, this job sucks. And be like, why would I want that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, like, I can definitely see, especially with our old manager, like, he did take a lot of bullets for us, too.
He did.
You know?
He took a lot.
Like, it wasn't so much a matter of, like, he didn't want to train us. It was just kind of, like, the situations we were all kind of put in. Like, it made it hard for all of us to kind of...
Yeah.
Towards the end there, you know, maybe not so much in the beginning or in the middle, but like towards the end when the company started changing,
when it started fracturing and people were getting moved that you never thought were going to get moved and all that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think to answer the question, I had an exit that was on my terms, and
it was positive note too.
It was positive. I don't think I burned any bridges. I think I think my last gesture, as someone who had been at that store for so long and seen it from opening, was to leave a good resignation note, which was kind of cool. I mean, GAs don't usually do that, but I decided to do it. I don't even know where it is anymore. I don't know if the manager at that time threw it away or what, but
it's probably logged somewhere, because I remember when I finally went to that store I went back to the store after all my moves, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, sweet, I get to go through all the filing cabinets and, like, all this stuff. Like, it's my store. Yeah. You know, And, like, I didn't find any of that stuff, so, like, maybe it's logged somewhere in the archives, you know?
But, again, I think it was more for me.
Yeah. I know that you stepping down from assistant managers when that whole thing when I came in and was getting hired to take your place, which I didn't want. Yeah. I was hoping, you know,
that was
someone else to take your place. I was hoping for the other guy there.
Another long time employee.
That was the turning of the tide,
that was the turning. That was the changing of the guard at that time.
That's when I had left, too. So I was no longer at that store.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was unfortunate that I did not get to work with that alpha manager, but I would say that the manager that hired me built a good relationship with her too.
Yeah.
So it was good that I got to know her and the rest of the store. And mentioning the tough decisions you have to be when you're in the management position. I know that Distro had like near the end of his tenure, put in a really tough situation of throwing all like his whole store into the bus.
In the beginning, middle, and end, I can tell you there was a lot of that. It wasn't so much, maybe some more public than others, but me and my team did a good job of taking care of our shit, making sure we weren't on the radar. But then somehow
you came on the radar.
Somehow, somewhere, you
showed up on radar.
Yeah, right.
I also know from other friends' experience as a manager of GameStop that like Cash Wrap was saying, you get into the point of a commitment. It's not just that because you're there almost all the time and to the point where you're carrying work home.
Yeah.
It's hard to find something else just because you don't have the time.
Right. You're dedicated to that.
But
work.
I would have to say, I don't know if you would like the money.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like you're gonna like it because you've never had it before.
Yeah.
And it's like you're gonna like maybe for as long as however long.
Like I said, you like the work until you don't like the work.
Until you don't like it, or until you figure out like, It starts with, wow, I'm getting paid this much to do all this. That's cool. Or I'm getting paid to do this much for this. That's cool. And then it turns into, I'm only getting paid this much to do all this. It's like, and it's so quick that happens. Mm-hmm. And from what I had been advised, sometimes you don't even realize it.
Oh yeah.
Until you're already years into it. And it's like, holy crap, how did I get myself?
It's from what I can tell as an observer, one of the ways that they get that to you. To the point where you're looking at the money, but you're not really paying attention to the money. It's the amount of perks.
Perks.
They give you a good amount of stuff. Where it's like, man, I wish I got that.
Yeah, and so
I got some stuff. Yeah,
that was like the draw. That was the draw of a lower employee. Is you look at your manager and he's getting these gifts from all of these publishers, and he gets trips to conference and E3 sometimes.
Especially when you're a key holder and you're reading all the emails and and you're seeing like all this stuff coming through. You're just like, oh man, that's like
yeah. So that was always kind of the carrot at the end of the stick. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I get all these freebies every year, and then you don't realize that
that was the cool thing too. At least at the end of the day, like our retail was games,
Mm-hmm.
And it was something we all cared about. So when we did get a perk like that, like it felt a little more wholesome.
It felt a little more wholesome. It felt like something that appealed to us as gamers,
You're right. It wasn't just like a gift card to Baskin Robbins or something, It was like, hey, here's a new title, like, here's the new game you've been excited about, or at least a DLC pack or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I remember one time, a long time ago, like our old manager, he gave me just a card for a DLC for Mario Kart, and I was like, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh man,
that was awesome.
It was awesome. I was like, I don't have to pay for this. Like, sweet, that's like $20.
That same manager gave me a DLC code for all the Battlefield 4 content, all of it. The season pass for it. There's a $50 value right there, and you just handed it over. So yeah, I think those freebies were.
Yeah, well, I do know that not all stores would do that because sometimes they will give out codes. That's one of the good things about our store was that if there was not the budget for it, we would find other ways of putting out the incentives. Yeah, that was just like, oh man, this is great work in here.
Without breaking policy by shrinking a copy of whatever out. And trying to justify it to company later.
But yeah. I think we probably should be wrapping up. For
I think we're on time.
Episode.
I think.
But real quick, since we were just talking about all this free stuff, what is your favorite genre? Me personally, I'm a big story person. I can play anything, but because I'm a big story person, my preferred genre is RPG games.
Mm-hmm. RPGs.
What about Distro?
I'd say RPGs. RPGs are really strong up there. Like I'm a fan of a really good like third-person narrative game, like a Last of Us or like an Uncharted or something like that,
It's like action-adventure, too.
Like an action-adventure, or like I'm a big fan of Zelda because of the puzzle aspect, but at the end of the day, I feel like RPGs just give me all of that. Yeah. And it gives me a little more room to kind of, role-play, like, obviously, role-play and make my story my own, so I say RPGs.
So we got 2 RPG fans on the show here in Distro and Trade.
What about Cash Wrap?
I can get down with a good RPG here and there, but I don't know, man. I think I might have to go bro on you guys and call first-person shooters.
I knew it.
I think I might have to go that route. There's just nothing like the thrill of just murdering players in a game And then there's no feeling like seeing your name at the top of the MVP list. You know?
So yeah, we definitely need an
Like
episode
the KD ratios.
where we go through and we talk about all our individual game tastes. Because I'm right there with you. Yeah, there's nothing like a game with some good gunplay.
Oh yeah.
You know, like just where it just feels nice when you're shooting the gun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
just-
Like there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, you know.
I do agree with you guys in that aspect, but because I'm a big story person, it's just I get bored of that real fast. And so, but you know, my games of choice often go from RPGs to action adventure.
Yeah.
Some people even thought I was a horror buff because I've played so many horror games. I'm like, no, horror games just always have very interesting premises.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I'm like, I want to know the story of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll probably
we'll get into
in
it,
later
yeah.
shows we might end shows with little tidbits about our favorite games and favorite consoles and first console, little trivia kind of things about the three of us. But I think
we're good. Yeah, I think it's ready to drop the gate. You know,
I think we got a
done
good
all
future.
of our closing duties.
Yeah, we got to kick all of you listeners out of here. You know, we got to close the shop.
Yeah, the shop's closing up. We're closing the gates and locking the doors.
You're putting the alarm code in. We're ready to go.
So until tomorrow, closing time.
All right.
Or until next show, rather, closing time. This is Cash Wrap.
Distro.
And this is Trade Ho. And, power to the podcast.
Yeah, power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.